Are We Not Men? We Are Devo. That's the debut studio album by the American new wave band Devo. It first came out in August 1978, on Warner Brothers across North America and on Virgin Records in Europe. Produced by the legendary Brian Eno, it was recorded from October 1977 to February 1978 at Conny Plank Studio near Cologne, Germany. The album reached number 78 on the US Billboard charts and peaked at number 12 on the UK Albums chart. Over time, critics and fans have placed it on numerous best-of lists, from Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, and Spin, and it's frequently cited as a cornerstone of American new wave. Let's rewind further. Ahead of the album's life, Mark Mothersbaugh, Gerald Casale, and Bob Mothersbaugh spent 3 years, between 1974 and 1977, crafting the music and concepts that would shape Devo. The song Jocko Homo, an anthem with its memorable chant Are We Not Men, was first demoed in 1974 and debuted live on Halloween, 1975. At that time, the group was a quartet. Mark, Gerald, Bob, and Jim Mothersbaugh on drums. But by 1976, Alan Myers had replaced Jim. Shortly after, Bob Casale, known as Bob II, returned to join on rhythm guitar and keyboards. By early 1977, Devo's live shows included most of the future album's tracks. Shrivel Up, Uncontrollable Urge, Praying Hands, Mongoloid, Too Much Paranoia, and Jocko Homo. They even self-released the single Mongoloid /Jocko Homo in March '77. Importantly, by May 1977, the entire album had been road-tested live. That touring phase forged the songs and helped shape their performance aesthetic. In 1977, Devo caught the attention of several luminary musicians. David Bowie and Iggy Pop both received a demo tape from Tin Huey's Michael Aylward's wife. Bowie, Iggy, Brian Eno, and even Robert Fripp each reached out, offering to produce. In October '77, Devo recorded Come Back Joni and Shrivel Up at Patrick Gleason's Different Fur studio in San Francisco. The following month, they played a gig in New York at Max's Kansas City, where Bowie introduced them and teased taking them to Tokyo to record. Ultimately, though, scheduling complications led to Eno helming production at Conny Plank Studio in Cologne. Bowie helped during weekends while filming Just a Gigolo. Since Devo was unsigned at the time, Eno even underwrote their flights and studio time, asking only for a stake in future deals. The workday of the first recording featured Mark, Bob, Alan, and guest musicians like Bowie, Holger Ksuke from Can, and Dieter Mobius of Cluster and Harmonia, all jamming in a creative swirl. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Eno pushed for sonic experimentation, layered synths, unusual textures, extended jams. Devo, however, resisted, wanting to preserve the taut energy of their demos. Their tension is legendary. Eno made up synth parts and really cool sounds for almost every part of the album, but we used them on only 3 or 4 songs, admitted Devo. After creative disagreements, Bowie stepped in again to remix, aiming to align the final cuts with both sides' visions. Even outtakes from these sessions became noteworthy. Tracks like Be Stiff, Social Fools, and Penetration in the Centerfold were released as singles or B-sides in '78 and '79. Now, let's talk cover art, because it deserves its own segment. The original concept used an image of golfer Chichi Rodriguez. But Warner Brothers balked, claiming it might mock him. So, Devo and art director Rick Surini produced a surreal collage. They morphed Rodriguez's face with portraits of Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and Ford. Ironically, Warner's legal worries led to a cover more Devo than originally intended. Though they eventually got Rodriguez's blessing, printing deadlines made the morphed version unavoidable. In Europe, the album sported entirely different visuals, still images from Devo's short film The Truth About Devolution, with Mark in goggles and lab gloves on the front, and his bandmates in stockings on the back. The album's rollout was delayed by some legal wrangling between Warner and Virgin. Finally, the album hit shelves on August 28, 1978 in the US, followed by a September 1 release in the UK. It climbed to number 78 on the Billboard charts, while peaking at number 12 on the UK Albums chart, where it stayed for 7 weeks. It also earned silver certification in the UK by January 15, 1979, and didn't reach US gold status until July 27, 2001. Critics had polarized responses. Rolling Stone criticized it as cold and impersonal. The Village Voice's Robert Christgau described it as catchy, comical, herky-jerky rock and roll, calling it as good as novelty music ever gets. The album also ranked high on year-end lists, like the Village Voice's Paz and Jop poll, incidentally voted one of the year's best. Retrospectively, AllMusic's Steve Huey called it arguably Devo's strongest set of material and a seminal touchstone in American New Wave. From October 1978 to June 1979, Devo supported the album with a theatrical global tour. Their live shows were part concert, part performance art. They'd open with their short film The Truth About Devolution, play their promo videos live, and then burst onto stage wearing yellow hazmat suits. They would shred those suits, donning helmets, and finally, by Jocko Homo, they'd strip down to black shorts and pads. Highlights included Mark's Bougie Boy transformation and a closing trio of haunting tracks. Red Eye, the words get stuck in my throat, and the audience left wondering what just happened. Now we arrive at the heart of the matter. Are We Not Men? We Are Devo. The first New Wave album? First, let's define New Wave. It wasn't a sound, but a reaction, to stadium rock's pomposity, disco's excess, and punk's raw force. New Wave kept the energy, but added irony, synths, fashion, and art school intellectualism. But the timeline matters. Blondie dropped their self-titled debut in December 1976, fusing girl group pop, punk, and glam. Elvis Costello's My Aim Is True arrived in July 1977, punk attitude with sharp songwriting. Talking Heads, 77 released in September 1977 with hits like Psycho Killer, blending jittery riffs with anxious vocals. By the time Devo's debut arrived in August 1978, New Wave was already building momentum, especially overseas and in underground US scenes. So no, Devo wasn't the first. But were they foundational? Absolutely. They fused robot rock, concept art, dystopian themes, and dark satire into a unified whole. More than a record, it was a statement. Here's the verdict. Not the first New Wave album. Definitely one of the most influential. A defining moment in American New Wave. And yes, it still sounds ahead of its time. Its legacy endures across decades of lists. Spin's 50 Most Essential Punk Records, 2001. Pitchfork's 100 Best Albums of the 1970s, 2004. Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums, number 447 in 2003, then 442 in 2012, now 252 in 2020. It's also featured in 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. Devo revisited the album live on May 6, 2009 at London's Forum in Kentish Town, and even released deluxe reissues in 2009 and 2010, including a remastered CD, vinyl expansion, DVDs, and more. Songs like Uncontrollable Urge and Gut Feeling endure, sampled in films and series from The Wolf of Wall Street to The Life Aquatic, Jackass, Outer Banks, and video games like Skate. Devo didn't invent New Wave, but they shaped it. They brought concept and character to a movement that already valued it, but they took it further. They didn't just sing songs, they performed them. So that's the scoop behind question: Are we not men? We are Devo. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like. Subscribe for more music history. When you hit subscribe, write subscribed in the comments and get a personal message from me. Comment below, what's your favorite early New Wave album, and why? Until next time. Are we not men? We are Devo.